Big Jones, the Juggernaut, post-workout. Welcome back to Unleashed. So I'm just got back from the just got back from the gym rather for my workout, and wanted to tell you guys a little quick little story about something that happened last night, because I feel like some of you guys are watching my show right now going, man, he's making that shit up. There's no way that stuff is going on. You know, I was in the military. It's not really like that, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, look down at the bottom of those little commercials where it says your experience may vary. Well, this is my experience. So last night, it's 6:30 at night, okay, in the middle of a hospital. It's quiet, nothing going on, although we don't really use the Q word. You know, Murphy's Law says once you say it's quiet, then all of a sudden it's not. So anyway, in the radiology department, it's quiet. We stopped taking walk-ins on the weekends because we're short-staffed, and that's a whole other thing. I'll get into that some other time. But it's like 6:30 at night. We stopped seeing patients at 3:30. Let's just say, for example, it was a weekday. We stopped seeing patients at 3:30. We certainly don't see walk-ins on the weekends. It's Sunday night, and I get a call on the phone. I get a call on the main line. Says, yeah, I'm here for an X-ray. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, that doesn't mean that he's wrong. You know, that person might be there from ortho. They might have a cast and just need a post-cast film, something like that. So I go out and I check it out. You know, I'm going to, treat every patient equally. So I go out and there's this guy, maybe mid-50s, bald head, looks a little bit older with his little hot tamale wife. And I'm like, yes, sir, can I help you? Like, yeah, I'm here for an X-ray. I'm like, oh, okay. Are you coming up from ortho or one of the clinics or the ER? What's going on? He's like, no, I got seen in town last week and I need to get my X-rays. I was like, oh, well, I'm sorry, sir. We're not open for walk-ins right now. We're only open for emergencies. And he says, what are you talking about? You're like, well, sir, there's a sign right there. It says it says we're open Monday through Friday, 0700 to 1530. And like, I apologize for any inconvenience, sir. He's like, well, we drove all the way down here from Temecula. Now, if you don't know, Temecula from San Diego, that's about 50 or so miles as the crow flies. And the idea that you drove from Temecula all the way down to Naval Center, San Diego, just for an X-ray on a Sunday night is ridiculous. And everybody knows that's ridiculous. You know, they were in town for dinner or visiting friends, and they say, hey, you know what? Let me knock out this X-ray while I'm down here. Let me see if I can use my pull and knock out an X-ray on a weekend. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why people have to do it like that. Sometimes there are just some people out there who just don't want to come in during regular business hours and they think they're special. I don't know. I've never stood outside of a Target at 1 o'clock in the morning trying to get some whatever Target sells. I don't know. But it would never occur to me, but some people just think that's their prerogative. I don't know. But anyway, again, I apologize. I apologize, sir. I'm really sorry for any inconvenience, but yeah, unfortunately, we're not open for walk-ins right now. And he cuts me off. He says, okay. First of all, it's chief, not sir. Understand? It's chief. And I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing. Okay. I guess that's how so I'm kind of like, I'm not going to shoot it. I'm not going to give him what he wants. So I just kind of take a step back and I'm like, all right, I see what we're dealing with now. So he tells me he's a chief, and I guess that's supposed to get me pissing down my leg, which it doesn't. So I say, all right, chief, I apologize. I didn't know you were a chief because you came in here with, tan cargo shorts and a polo shirt and some flip-flops. I didn't know that's what chiefs wore. I thought they wore khakis and anchors, but that's okay. No worries. Chief, I'll call you what you want. So I say, well, Chief, I apologize, but we're not going to be able to see you right now. Please come back Monday through Friday, 07 to 1530. I feel like I've said that for the 5th time, and he's just hemming and hawing back and forth. And, with the whole, oh, it's Chief, not sir. Now I'm trying not to be a jerk because my boss says I can't be a jerk anymore no matter what. So I'm trying, I like my boss, so I'm trying not to make more work for him. So I'm just kind of backing off, being professional. So, again, it's like, oh, I know the CMC, I know this person, I know that person, I'm like, well, sir, I apologize again for the last time. I feel like I'm apologizing so much, but I'm sorry, we're not open for walk-ins right now. Please come back during our regular business hours. Ting. So at this point, the guy takes a step towards me, reaches out, and rips off my badge, off my jacket. And he says, I'll tell you something right now, HM2 Jones. and after he says that, he reads it up, he flings it across the lobby. And I'm like, okay, man, my hands are shaking. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're... I'm like, and he's just, like, I'll tell you, he's just throwing rap battle threats at me now. I know the CMC, I know the CO, the XO. I'm going to call your department head, your chief, your Divo. I'm going to call all these people, and I'm going to tell you something. We'll see what we'll see, pal. I'm like, and he's like up in my face. He's not up in my face, but he's pretty close. So I just tell him, well, sir, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to wait till Monday morning at 0700 if you want to talk to any of those people. And he's, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, you're a comedian now, right? You think you're funny? You think you're a comedian now? Okay, we'll just see. We'll just see, HM2. We'll just see what we'll see. And he takes his little wife and he walks off. His wife, who was standing there looking mortified, by the way, just like, she didn't say anything, but she was just kind of like, ugh, I don't know. Nothing happened. I told my boss about it, and he was just, write a little thing about it. I mean, like, he did tell me he appreciated me, keeping my hands to myself and not getting, not instigating it further. So, that's something, I guess. But, but it just, I don't know. Maybe I want some of you guys to help me out with this a little bit. What is it exactly? I mean, I have a theory about it, and it's funny that this is what I took from that whole scene. What is it with military people, military males in general, marrying these women from, these women from the Philippines and Japan and all over the world, and it's like, these women who barely speak any English. I guess it's like that college experience. There's a lot of really strange relationships in the military. I say the military, but the Navy, really. But I know all branches of the military do this. There's always some, 25-year-old lieutenant junior grade with some 17-year-old Japanese chick who doesn't speak any English, and he doesn't speak any Japanese. And I'm just wondering, how do these relationships work, or do they even work? Now, there is one. There's always. I'm sure a lot of these relationships do work, but man, what is that dynamic like? I mean, my old chief, he's married to a Japanese woman, and they have children, and they seem to be making it work. Although he really, really loves Japan, like he wants to retire there. So I don't know. I'm really curious on how these relationships work. I mean, thank God for shows like 90 Day Fiancé, where they really dive into these relationships and see, when you don't speak the same language as somebody, how does that work? When I was in my 20s, I've always been into older women, so I dated this chick who was a little bit older than me. She was like in her late 30s. I was maybe 22, and she didn't speak any English, but she spoke Spanish. But I speak Spanish. I certainly don't speak Spanish as well as I speak English, but, I'm not completely ignorant on how to speak Spanish. I speak some pretty good Spanish, and we were able to communicate. But even still, I don't speak good enough Spanish to argue with someone. Think about that. I'm dating this person, you're not always going to get along. You get into arguments, I could definitely hold my own. I could let my feelings be known in Spanish, but it's really, really hard to explain complex emotions in a language that you're not completely fluent in. So, and we had our share of arguments like any couple does, but I'm wondering, how do these people do that when they don't even speak the basics? They don't speak Japanese. They don't speak Chinese. They don't speak Tagalog. What's this? How does that work? It's, there was this one instance where, I'm shooting regular X-rays in the department, and there's a person correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the name was Japanese. It was like Mitsuko, and so I call the patient up. And now my personal policy is, if you're over 18, if you're not a pediatric patient or a child, there's no reason for someone to come in with you unless you just need help because you're in a wheelchair or you're just really, really old. But if you're, 20, 25, or even 18, there's no reason why your mommy and daddy or your wife or your husband have to come into the room with you. There's not a lot of room back there. There's a lot of patient information back there. There's no real reason for you to come back there. You're an adult. You can handle yourself. Besides, we're not gonna. I mean, what do you think we're gonna do? I don't know. But here's what happened. So I'm in there. I call this patient up, and the husband comes. Now from the waiting room, there's another little waiting room that's right outside the room. So I told him, okay, well, ma'am, you can come in, sir. You can have a seat right there. And he says, is there a problem with me coming in? I'm like, do you need to come in? Is there a problem? And he says, well, she doesn't speak English that well. And I'm looking. It's this white dude. He's like a lieutenant, maybe mid-20s, and she's this little hot tamale Japanese chick who's maybe like 22. And he says, oh, well, she doesn't speak a lot of English. I might have to come in and help. I'm like, oh, okay. That's a legit reason, I mean, it wasn't that extensive of an x-ray. It was just a knee. So, but if he speaks the language and he can help, great. So I said, yeah, come in. So I'm just telling her, okay, I'm telling him, all right, can you tell her to have a seat on the table and swing her legs over? And I'm ready for the show. I'm thinking I'm going to hear this white boy spitting out some Japanese. I'm like, yeah, let's hear it. And what he does is he, with his hands, like, sit, 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 sit. Swing your legs. Sit down, legs. What the what the hell are you doing? I thought you spoke the language. He's like, well, I'm learning. Like, you're learning. What did you learn?
You're going to take that dick. You're going to take that dick. I'm going to pop off a piece of my dick.
I mean, what the fuck did you really learn? I mean, you're married to this woman. You don't speak a word of Japanese? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? I mean, seriously, what kind of relationship do you really have with someone if you don't speak the language? This guy didn't speak anything. And furthermore, what was he really worried that was going to happen? What did he think I was going to do if I had her in there by myself? I mean, does he really not trust me, or does he really not trust her? I mean, what is the deal here? Some of these relationships are so confusing. I really don't get it. Some of you guys got to chime in here. I mean, I really honestly think that it is the college experience. I mean, anybody who went to college and you got that late teen to, 18 to like 25, that's when you make all your rash decisions, especially romantically. Guys like me, who are sort of hopeless romantics, or, never really had a girlfriend in high school, you get out to college and, you find your, you find your rhythm, you kind of come into your own, and you're able to, you start dating. But, in the military, it's a little trickier because you're not in one place for very long, 2 to 4 years, which, in the grand scheme of things isn't very long, but you get a girlfriend after maybe a year, you're dating, and then when it starts to come down to, okay, well, you're inside your window, we're going to have to start picking orders here pretty soon. Now it's like, oh, well, what are we going to do? I'm like, well, I mean, well, do you love me? I mean, and I'm not making fun of the ladies, man. I think it's guys and girls. They all make these horrible decisions to get married so they can get stationed together, and then they end up breaking up anyway. It's ridiculous. I mean, seriously, I know a woman who is 30, who I went to core school with, who has been divorced 3 times already, and she's only 30. Oh, my God. A lot of time, and it is unfortunate because a lot of times, I mean, sometimes it is really love. Sometimes you really do, have it bad for a person. I mean, hey, I've been there. But when it comes time to pick orders and it comes time to PCS or move on to another command, now you're stuck. Now it's like, well, what do we do? It's either we break up, and this is the first real serious relationship I've had, and it's getting broken up, not because of us, not because we don't want to be with each other anymore, but through circumstance, through duty. I mean, you can't exactly tell the Navy, no, I'm not going to go there. The only thing you can do is make it law, and that's, getting married. So a lot of these people just dash into these relationships, into these marriages, willy-nilly, without really thinking it through. So, I mean, it's It's unfortunate. You see a lot of these really strange relationships, in the military, especially when you're dealing with some of these young cats, man. And these young kids, man, especially when you start dangling that money in front, man. I mean, basic housing allowance when you're married in Southern California is like $3,000. Give you another example of another questionable relationship that I that I was privy to during my tenure in the military. So I'm in X-Ray School, right? And I don't want to name any names here. I don't want to put anybody on blast, but this is just what happened. I'm just giving you a real account of what happened. So I didn't have a car for the first half, and then when my wife came in, I ended up buying a van. So we've been in class together for months and months at this point, so we're all kind of tight. We're friends, and not real serious like long-term friends, but they'll do. They were a young group of cats, and they just do young kid stuff. But hey, we're going to like lunch or happy hour or something like that. I'm down with that. It's cool. And it was a mixed bag. There were dudes and chicks. It was all good. But so there were a couple times where me and some of the ladies wanted to go to happy hour, and it was like at the Cheesecake Factory or something in San Antonio, so it was cool. So I would drive because I had the van, I had room, so I was like, yeah, I don't mind driving. So we would go, but both of them were in relationships. There was two of them. There were two females. Both of them were in relationships. I'd met one of their boyfriends, and and you'd want to, if my wife was there, she definitely would have met both of them. Hell, she probably would have been coming with us, because you want that transparency. You don't want it to look like, Jonesy's running around with these two chicks. No, everybody, it's all out in the open. Everybody knows we're all close to being the same rank, so there's no weirdness. Now, the other person whose significant other I hadn't met, like I said, they're both married. So the other person whose significant other I hadn't met, I kept asking, like, hey, is this cool with your husband? Is your husband cool? Or does your husband want to come? I mean, according to her, he's just sitting in the house. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have, anything. He lives off of her, basically, based on what she's told me. From what she's told me, he doesn't have a job. He doesn't have any income. He's kind of in that still living with his mom mentality. She told us that he had gone home to visit his mom for several months, and they had an apartment together. So the whole thing is just weird to me. But I'm like, hey, look, it's not my relationship. It's your relationship. So you do what you want. So I'm asking, this one day we're picking her up. I'm like, hey, listen, I would really feel comfortable if your husband would just, come out here and just make sure that I know it's okay. Because I don't need some dude coming after me with a knife or a shotgun talking about you messing with my girl. I don't need that. So I just asked her, hey, listen, do you think you could come out here and just say hello? So I go to pick her up, and he just kind of waves. And the whole time I'm asking myself, like, is this relationship real? Because I got to tell you, the chick is definitely giving off some less than straight vibes. Now, I got no problem with the gays, man. Like especially the lesbians. The lesbians love me for some reason. We always get along. Me and the lesbos, my gay homegirls, we're always tight. I don't know why. I got more female gay friends than I have straight male friends for some reason. I don't know. The gays like me because I'm cool. I'm chill. I look like, I've gotten this more often than not. One of my gay homies comes to me and is like, I thought you were going to be a total jerk. I thought you were going to be a bigot or whatever, but you're actually really cool. I'm like, thanks. I guess that's a compliment. But anyway, but I'm asking about this girl's husband, and he never wants to come. He never wants to say hello. She insists that he's okay with whatever we're doing. And I'm just like, there's something just really, really fishy about this. And, it wouldn't be the first time that a person who was gay got married to a straight person just for the check, or just because they're friends, or just to, get stationed somewhere. It happens. But, thank God that they dropped that soon after I got into the military. They dropped the whole don't ask, don't tell thing, which is great. Like, I never understood why that was a thing in the first place. Plenty of gay people have gone to war and died for this country. I don't understand why the military wouldn't recognize a gay union, so I'm glad that whole thing is over. But that whole situation always bothered me. It's like, she wasn't a kid. She was, late 20s, early 30s. So I'm like, what? You can't just say you're gay. I mean, you can't just be who you are. Or I don't know. It was a very strange situation. Some of these relationships in the military just don't make any sense. So if you want my advice, if you're going to join the military, either one of two things. Either get all that out of your system, go and run through, go and slay as many hoochie mamas as you can just to get that monkey off your back. Or B, if you are in a committed relationship with somebody, make a choice. That's what I did. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you decide to join the military, make a choice right then and there before you go to boot camp, before you start going to training, because you're not going to have any time for all that. And the reality is you're not going to have a choice on where you go early on in your career. When you're first starting off, you're kind of at the needs of the Navy, man. Even if you go to A school, even if you go to C school, even if you have all these qualifications that the Navy needs, you're still at the mercy of the Navy because you're so new. So you're not going to be able to say, oh yeah, well, I'm in San Diego, my girl's in Phoenix, so hopefully I'll get stationed. No, well, you can't hope for that. You got to be flexible. So you got to make a choice. Either drop the relationship or commit to it. That's your only options. Anything short of that, and you're just setting yourself up for failure. Because when you get out there, and it is unfortunate, but you're going to start to get lonely. And when you start to get lonely, you make bad choices. That's how you end up with, this little hot tamale, Asian chick who doesn't speak any English, and yeah, she loves you. Well, she might love you for the wrong reason, and you might love her for the wrong reason, And I'm not dumping on the immigrants, I'm not dumping. There's plenty of people who got to this country by marrying into legitimate relationships for legitimate reasons. But again, your relationship is your business. I'm just saying, think it through. The military is not going to feel bad for you if your relationship falls apart because you rushed into it. All they're going to care about is, oh, that sucks. Are you going to be to work on Monday or what? That's it. Thanks for watching the show, guys. Like, share, and subscribe to BJBL Unleashed on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram while you're at it, and I will see you later for more Unleashed.